So we just sort of wrapped on the testing with the Tamron 17 to 70. Hey, what's going on everybody? It's that one camera guy back at it again with another video for you. What we're going to be doing today is running the Tamron 17 to 70 through a variety of different testing. We're going to do sharpness tests, some sort of distortion. We're going to look at maybe some distortion that the lens might have. We're going to look at video autofocusing, photo autofocusing, and maybe even look at stabilization as well. It's not an exhaustive test, and the one thing I want to keep in mind and let you know is that this is just synthetic testing in a way, however you want to call it, and I'm using my experience to sort of let you know what I think about the scenario, because I can't really test this lens out and camera out in an actual real-world scenario, so it's not going to happen. But hopefully this particular synthetic testing will help you decide if you like the lens or not. So that's what we're going to be doing. Just to let you know, the lens was sent to me by Tamron. They did not tell me what I could and couldn't say in terms of the video, so I'm going to say whatever I want to say. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm not being paid. I got to send the lens back anyway, but I got to let you know that in the video in case you had questions about it. Let me go ahead and show you the setup that I have going on today for the video and autofocusing tests. I've got the 6600, Tamron 1770. I got a Tomos Ninja 5, which is going to be doing some of the recording for us in this particular scenario, which is really convenient. I've also got a Pocket Wizard trigger that I'll be using as well to trigger this too. I've already taken the photos on the sidewall of my house, so that way I could get an idea for the sharpness and everything. But in terms of what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be testing that, and I'll do some other tests as well. First thing on my list is construction. This has a plastic build quality to it. Plastic doesn't mean it's bad, it just means that it's lighter. I've had the Tamron 20 to 75, the 17 to 28, and I didn't baby those lenses, and I didn't have any problems with them whatsoever. In terms of maybe weather sealing, I don't know the whole story about it, but overall, just because it's plastic doesn't mean it's bad. It's actually really good because when you put it onto an APS-C body, you really can't really tell that it's a heavy lens. It's really light, and when you zoom in, it doesn't feel unwieldy. So kudos to Tamron for doing that. The next thing on the list is the fact that it has an f2.8 aperture constant compared to the Sony Zeiss 16 to 70, which is f4. So you're going to get one stop better light performance over that particular lens. Granted, you lose 1 millimeter at the wide end, but that's not big a deal. One thing I forgot to mention in my other video is that this does have vibration compensation. So for those of you that are shooting with APS-C bodies like the 6000, 6100, 6300, 6400, you are going to get some form of stabilization. So this is actually a really great option for those of you that want to step up to a more prosumer lens. That's the way I would look at it. It's not cheap still at $799, but again, comparing it to what's available out already, like the Sony 16 to 55 or even this guy right here, I would say it's price point wise, it's a really great option for you. All right, folks, we're taking a look at image quality, sharpness, that kind of thing. This is the best test I could do. It's not exhaustive, but just know in general on this lens, there is vignetting wide open at f2.8, and as you stop down, that vignetting sort of falls off. So just keep that in mind. So if you're stopping down at f4, 5.6, the vignetting will go away. The sharpness is pretty good at the wide end of the lens, between 17 and 35. It starts to peak around like 50 to 70, it starts to drop off a little bit. So let's go ahead and take a look at these wall image tests here. I'll have f2.8 on the left, f4 on the right, 70 millimeters. I'm starting with this one because this one has the biggest difference in terms of sharpness. The one on the left is pretty good already at f2.8, and then at f4, it tends to improve even more, and that seems to be the case. So I think if you want overall sharpness, I'd probably stop down 70 millimeters to f4, and even 50 millimeters. Let's take a look at the 52 millimeters, f2.8 on the left, f4 on the right. All right, that looks pretty good. This, just me looking at this right now, it looks fairly close. It does get a little better stopping down to f4. Let's look at the corner. Same, it gets a little better when you stop down. All right, 36 millimeters. Let's take a look really quick. In this particular example, I can't really tell a big difference. The corner I can. When we have it stopped down at f4, it does sharpen up a bit on the corner side there. Central area, it does seem to get a little better, but it doesn't look too bad. All right, 25 millimeters. Again, sharpness here looks similar to the left. Can't really tell too much. Let's go to the corner edge here. Yeah, it just gets a hair sharper. It gets a hair sharper. All right, 17 millimeters. Central area, again, slight sharpening there when we stop down to F4. Edge sharpness, it again, slightly sharper, but I can't really tell. I mean, it looks pretty good wide open at F2.8. Obviously, there's vignetting. Hopefully, there'll be some sort of correction for that later on. All right, let's take a look at some distortion. So at 17 millimeters, we're getting barrel distortion. It starts to correct itself around 24 millimeters, 35. You start seeing slight pin cushion. Again, slight pin cushion at 50. And then the pin cushion gets slightly more pronounced at 70 millimeters, in case you were wondering about that. Chromatic aberration. I tried to take pictures in high contrast areas. I didn't really notice anything substantial. If you see something, let me know. But it doesn't look too bad. I don't notice any purple fringing. Maybe a little bit here, but it looks pretty controlled to me. It could be very different for some of you. All right, we're going to jump over to this ladder test. It's going to give you a better idea of the sharpness, in my opinion. So let's take a look at it because there's some text. Here, left side 2.8, right side F4. This is at 17 millimeters. We're going to start at the center here. Now here you can definitely see just slightly stopping down is going to improve that sharpness on the lens, but it's still not bad at 17 millimeters at f2.8. All right, here we are at 25 millimeters. Let's take a look. 25 millimeters wide open isn't bad. I'm noticing slight fringing or something. There's a weird color shift here. Let me know if you notice that too. But in terms of the overall quality, f2.8, f4, again, it gets a hair sharper at f4. All right, 36 millimeters here. Again, 36 is not bad in terms of sharpness. Improves again when we stop down to f4. 55 millimeters, same story. This one I was noticing that stopping down did improve it compared to the one from f2.8 to f4. This is at 55 millimeters. All right, 70 millimeters. Again, you can kind of see that slight pin cushion distortion there. And again, I'm seeing this dramatic difference between f2.8 and f4 right here and stopping down. I could have had a focus issue here potentially. I took several different photos, so there could be some error there, but this is what I was getting. And I took some more pictures of something else, and I got something similar. Let me show you next. All right, here's another example, f2.8 on the left, f4 on the right. And I'm seeing that same softness again, but it gets better at f4. Let me go ahead and show you at f5.6. It gets even better at 5.6 in this case right here. So kind of soft here. I don't know if it's an issue of distance or however it's calculated, but again, I'm just showing you what I'm seeing so that you're aware of what's going on. Let's talk quickly about minimum focusing distance really quickly here. I was taking photos of this thing here. Let me zoom out a little bit. This is at 70 millimeters. I can get about 1 feet away at 70 millimeters. And then when we go to 35 millimeters, I can get as close as about 5 inches. And then 17 millimeters, about 1 inch. So really up close to it. So the lens is really up close to it. So I just wanted to give you an idea about minimum focus distance and how close you can get to your subject. So you can get really close at the wide end of that lens. Let me show you just some other image examples here really briefly. This is 17 millimeters at f4, 36 millimeters at f4, and then 70 millimeters at f4. Just the variety of shots you can get, having that flexibility with the zoom. And then again, here's another one, 17 mil. It looks really good, 17 mil f2.8, 35 f2.8. Again, it's really strong at the wider end in terms of sharpness. And then this is up close. I should have backed up a little bit more, but again, you can kind of see a hint of that softness there. You see that at the 70 millimeter range. Hopefully that helps some of you guys out in terms of understanding what's going on there. All right, we're moving on to the photo test. We're going to be using this little guy here, which is a little trigger for me to fire the camera remotely. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Again, Tamron 17 to 70. The settings are on the screen. So we're at a shutter speed of 1/800th of a second, f2.8, ISO 6400. It is higher ISO. I'm not going to test every different scenario out there. This is probably a more challenging situation. I got to bring the shutter speed a little higher because I'm going to do a part where I'm moving a little quicker, and I just want to be able to freeze the action. Even 1/800 is not enough sometimes. It needs to at least be at 1,000, but this is where it's at right now. So we're just going to roll with this particular situation. As far as the autofocusing modes, I don't have it on high plus, it's just high. So it's gonna be 8 frames per second. And then autofocus continuous, wide area autofocus, and then face eye priority. I may switch over this later on to tracking flexible spot, but I'm gonna keep it on wide for right now. So I'm gonna half press on this, and you're gonna go ahead and see the actual focus square show up. And I'm just gonna do my typical testing. I'm gonna move side to side, and you're gonna notice that it does a really darn good job of identifying me. So if I wanted to stand here, oh, okay, now it's, okay, there it goes. Kind of freaked out a little bit. Boom, so I've got a picture of me there, picture of me there. All right, so now you kind of know the idea. What we're gonna be doing is, we're gonna start off with side to side, and then I'm gonna walk towards and back towards the camera. I'll even do some things like where, see that? Or I'm half pressing and moving that around. So, well, let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to set it up at, let's go 24 millimeters here, a little more reasonable. Half press, and I'm just gonna go side to side. Notice again, it's sticking with me, pretty good. Then I'm gonna dodge out, okay? So I'm not taking a photo, we're just looking at the autofocusing system right now. See that? So as soon as I come back into frame, it identifies the face and then it focuses on me. So again, I'm gonna walk kind of side to side here, and I am about 13 feet away, 12 feet away. See, now it's kind of dancing around. That's my face, and then it's gonna go to my eye soon. There we go, about 6, 7 feet away. And then we're good so far at 24 millimeters. Okay? As far as my movement, it always seems as if the photo side is a little slower. It seems much faster in video. Like in video, it's able to lock onto my face. Like on my eye, it just sticks to it. In photo, it's slowly lagging. You see that? So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start taking photos. All right, so I wanted to just go ahead and cut through the video and just show you the image examples. So there was a version of this where I kind of sprinted sort of to the camera, because this is where the challenge of the actual focusing happened. So I'm kind of moving quickly towards the camera and away from the camera. And what I noticed with the autofocus was that it did a pretty decent job, and it did a good job in most, if not all cases, with the exception of me kind of bolting quickly up towards the camera. There was a bit of some hit or miss. So when I'm going to get closer to the camera, I'm going to see something like that's out of focus. That's out of focus. That one's slightly out of focus. That one's keeping up. Side to side was doing pretty good. And did we lose that one? No, we didn't. We lost that one. So in terms of just the overall performance of like when I was bolting towards the camera, most of it's pretty good. I would say in terms of what I was seeing was consistent with a good lens. I didn't see anything unusual, any weird pulsating, any weird behavior. It seemed very typical of it. Now, this is not a test. It's just it's an okay test to kind of get you an idea of the autofocus. But I found that it was good. It was good. Now, I'm sure if I got a chance to test it in a sporting environment, then I'd be able to really hone in on the performance. But overall, very happy with it. All right, we're going to be doing a photo autofocusing test right now. So what I've got is I've got this light stand with the face on it, and then I've got the monopod over there with the hat. Let me zoom in on there so you can see what it looks like. So as far as the distance goes, I don't know, probably 8 feet, 9 feet away. And so what I want to do is stick to around maybe 50 millimeters and kind of go back and forth really quick between the two to see how quickly it acquires focus. So you can kind of tell. Now this is challenging because I got some backlighting coming in on that one, and then this is really close. So here we go. I'm using autofocus continuous with the tracking option. That's typically how I shoot. So if you notice here, as I go here, sometimes you'll see it pulse a little bit. But for the most part, it's very quick. See that? All right, let's try a weird scenario. Wide, zoom in. So right now I'm just testing out the handling, right? So I'm zooming and adjusting as I'm shooting just to kind of get a feel for it. Hopefully you're not getting too sick, but it works well. Okay, so I'm zooming out. Boom, take a picture, recompose. There you go, recompose. Did I identify that as an eye? All right, that's interesting. Let's go ahead and switch over to AFS just for you guys. Flexible spot. Interesting. See how it kind of pulsates there with AFS? That's why I don't use AFS. So this is autofocus. Yeah, you see that? Notice the difference between AFC mode and this one? Hopefully you noticed it. All right, so completely brand new testing. Tamron 17-70 is mounted. We're at 24 millimeters on here because I think that's sort of where things should be at. That's just kind of my go-to. I don't want to test everything. It's ridiculous. Autofocus continuous, wide area autofocus, and an face and eye priority in autofocusing in video. I'm at 1080p. Let me jump over to the settings here for a second. Drive speed, normal, AF tracking, sensitivity, responsive. I'm not going to test everything. It's just not feasible, and I don't want to go through all that trouble. So the test I'm going to be going over with you guys is side to side, edge, movement, ducking out, hand in front, turn around, walk up, and stand still. So those are the video autofocusing tests we're going to do. So let's go ahead and get started with it. So first off is side to side. And as you can see in the video footage, you can actually see the eye autofocus tracking me pretty good. It works well. I've already done this test already, and I'm just doing it again for this, but it's good. All right, next, I'm gonna get a little closer, and we're gonna do an edge test, and we'll see if it starts to pulse. Okay, I can't tell from here because of the light. It's blinding me a little bit here from the sun. All right, I'm gonna move to this side here on this edge, and we'll see if it starts to pulse. See, it still has one of my eyes right here. I get close and it disappears. So what I'm looking at is it starting to pulse the lens as we get to there? With that said, let's just jump to 17 millimeters wide, and then let's just check it again. It seems to hold. I don't seem to have any problems with it. It seems to hold itself there. Actually, that's pretty good. I've had lenses I've tested in the past where it will start to pulse a bit as we go to the edge. I went back to 24 millimeters, so we did the edge. We're gonna do a duck out of the way, so here we go. All right, we're back in this. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and jump on to 35 millimeters here really quickly and do the same thing again just to get some variety. All right. Looks good to me. That looks good to me there. All right, next we're gonna do hand in front. I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna go to 17 millimeters because maybe you're recording yourself and you wanna hold your hand in front so you can kind of see how quickly this process happens. All right, so we're at 17 millimeters. Let's take a look. Obviously, I got to cover my face. If I don't, it's going to stick to my face. You see that? I got to cover my face. So if you wanted to hold something up, here you go. Check out my phone, yada, yada, yada. There you go. That is the hand in front test. Now we're going to do a turnaround test. I'm going to go to 24 millimeters here, roughly. And I'm going to just turn around. Here we go. No idea what's going on. There we go. Jump back. That's the turnaround test. I'm not gonna go too crazy on it. Then we're gonna do a walk-up test. I'm still at 24 millimeters. I'm about 12 feet, 13 feet. I'm not sure what that is in meters for you guys. I apologize. Do that again. Walk up quickly here. I'm not a model or anything like that, but hey. Focus is good. Focus is good. Kind of dipping out. I'm gonna stand still here now. So I'm at 24 millimeters. Actually, I'm gonna push this, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and go to 50 here. Go bananas here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm at 50 millimeters. Exposure is horrific back there. Let me go ahead and dial this up a little bit. Okay. What we're looking for here is I'm gonna teeter back and forth a little bit. This is a little tough for me because I am farther away from the camera. I'm about 7 feet away, 6 feet away. So I'm just moving back and forth a little bit as if you were gonna do an interview or something, kind of situate the subject to the side. And we're just looking to see if there's any weird pulsing or if it's having trouble keeping up with the focus. I can't tell from here. I'll have to take a look at it later and give you my thoughts on what's going on right here, right now. But that's pretty much the rest of the test. All right, so we're now doing video autofocus. Let me go ahead and make sure you guys can see I have steady shot on. I'm doing this handheld, normal, responsive. Let's take a look at this kind of a handheld situation. Let's say I'm recording this guy, zoom in a little bit. All right, it's holding it, good. Let me zoom in over there. There we go, zoom out, zoom here. I'm gonna say it's 70 mil. Yeah, there's a slight pulse there. See that? Okay, that's a bit smoother. I'm at what, 35 millimeters. Yeah, it's not bad. What do you expect? All right, we're going to be doing a stabilization test. Stabilization is activated. This is a 6600 and the Tamron lens does have stabilization. I'm at 70 millimeters. This is a little awkward to hold, but I'm just staying steady. Again, this is a stabilization test. 70 millimeters. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off stabilization. Steady shot. Now I don't know if it turns it off in the camera, but we'll see. All right, here we go. Yeah, I can notice a difference. This is with steady shot off or any sort of stabilizations off. So when you don't have any stabilization on, I can notice the jitter already. 70 millimeters. All right, so I'm using the Tamron 17 to 70. I'm hand holding it right now, just doing a little bit of walking. I have stabilization on. I'm trying to see if you're gonna see some wobble on the edges of here. This is really hard to hold, by the way, because there's an Atomos attached. So yeah, let's see. It is tough to use this. You wanna have like a Gorilla Pod or something like that in order to get this to pull off. But just imagine again, you're hand holding this and you're walking around. Man, even at 17, it's really hard to, it's a pretty tight crop still. I think the 16 is a hair better. Hey, what's going on, everybody? So this is a test of the Tamron 17 to 70 on the Sony a7S III. We are shooting at 4K in this, and you'll notice this circular vignette on here. So definitely it's not going to work very well in 4K. Here's me zoomed in all the way to 70 millimeters with the Tamron. So that's what it looks like if you were wondering. A7S III, Tamron 17 to 70. All right, this is the Tamron 17 to 70 on the A7S III in HD, cropped. So obviously, it has to be cropped because the sensor, there's not enough megapixels on this particular sensor. So if I zoom in, that's what it looks like. So that's what you're getting. Here it is again at 17 millimeters. I don't know, about 3 feet away. That's where I'm at right now, 17 millimeters HD. In case you wanted to know. Hey, what's going on, everybody? So we're using the Sony A9. This is not cropped mode. This is not APS-C mode. Shooting at 4K, you can obviously see the strong vignette around the sides. Definitely not usable unless it's an effect that you wanted to use. All right, we've got the Sony A9 shooting in 4K, but this time we do have APS-C mode turned on. You'll notice that the vignette is completely gone and the lens is usable at this particular range. Even if you're zooming in or whatever, you should be able to use this lens in a cropped mode. All right, let's go ahead and talk about my conclusion of the Tamron 17 to 70. The one thing I can say that this is a very versatile lens, period. F2.8, it has like a 25.5 to 105 millimeter full frame equivalent. So if you ever had a chance to use that lens on full frame, it's an incredible reach in terms of the wide end and the telephoto end, but that was at f4, but this one you're gonna get f2.8. I know there's some equivalency things, but just understand you're still gonna get some really great performance out of it. Now, you did see in the video, there is a weakness with this lens, especially with image quality on the longer end for the copy that I have. Don't forget, there's copy variations out there, so make sure you check out some other reviews. But for me, in my copy, I did notice that from 50 to 70, you want to stop down slightly in order to improve the image quality performance. But even without stopping down, I think just in general, if you're taking photos, maybe even portraits or something, you may not notice it as much at those particular ranges. But on the wide end, this lens does do a really good job from like 17 to 35. I was really, really impressed with its overall quality. Photo autofocus, video autofocus were all stellar, as you saw in the examples. There was a bit of some slight distortion at the wide end and even at the telephoto end, but that was even minor than the barrel versus pincushion distortion that you saw. But other than that, it's really hard to recommend anything else at the moment with this particular price point and feature set. There's nothing else like it. Tamron is doing a really great job, and they're crushing it with these particular types of lenses that are bright, and they're zoom lenses. I don't know what else to say. In terms of its overall performance, I'm pretty happy with it. There wasn't a moment where I thought, man, this lens is garbage. That thought never crossed my mind. And again, they did send me the lens, but that's neither here nor there. That's just my personal opinion based on what I saw and my own experience with just shooting and video and photography. Overall, very impressed. If I was still a primarily APS-C shooter, I would have loved this lens, but I don't live in that world anymore. Let's talk about who is this lens for. I'm gonna keep it short. If you are an APS-C shooter and you're gonna stay in APS-C world, get this lens later down the line if you wanna take your photography a little more serious, maybe even video. But if you plan on going to full frame, do not get this lens. It's not a good idea because you're going to be limited. As you saw in the example, there's a crazy vignette at full frame using this particular lens, so you can't use this lens adequately on a full frame body. So you may want to look at the Tamron 20 to 75 instead if you're considering going into the full frame world. So that's my conclusion, folks, for this particular video. I am going to have another video that compares the different standard zoom lenses, so make sure you subscribe for that. Again, if you can drop a like on this video, I would greatly appreciate it. It took quite a bit of time to piece together. If you have any questions, post them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Make sure to subscribe, like, and I'll do all that good stuff. And I will catch you in the next video. Peace.